It's mission time! Your mission is to watch Totally Spies and the Amazing Spies every day.
Really?
Anyone who has ever watched this channel knows I have a long-standing, one-sided beef with this old man. In case you are unaware who this is Jerry Lewis, who is the founder and head of WOOP, which stands for World Organization of Human Protection. You will probably recognize him as he is the man that gives Sam, Clover and Alex missions in the very popular Totally Spies. I have made an entire video of the list of reasons why I declared this man my enemy, but I will summarize. He has a complete disregard for these girls' personal lives, constantly puts them in unnecessary danger. You think the spy work would be the most dangerous things about their lives, and you would be wrong. He throws them out of planes. Whilst looking into the list of awful things this man has done, I've discovered the mega pop 2000 show, Totally Spies, which lasted for several seasons and was so popular that it was brought back for a reboot this year, that it had a spin-off. I had to know more about it. I knew it had a sister show, Martin Mystery, which it had a crossover episode with, in the episode Totally Mystery March, where Martin and his spies hunt down a Yeti, and Jerry apparently knows the leader of the center who runs the organization in Martin Mystery. I also made a video on Martin Mystery if you want to watch that in detail. But when I found out they had a spin-off show where Gerald James Lewis, yes, I fully named him, when I found out he could continue his tyranny of torturing kids in the name of saving the world, I just had to see what evil he got up to in The Amazing Spies. Yes, it is spelled with a Z or a Z, depending on where you're from in the world, because spelling things with a Z at the end instead of an S made things cool in the early 2000s. This show is set in the same world as Totally Spies and follows the four siblings Lee, Mark, Megan and Tony. This show is very much aimed at the male audience they think they missed with Totally Spies. It clearly takes inspiration from comic books, which is stereotyped as a male interest. They have the caption box to show changes of a location, time or situation throughout the show. There's also a lot of onomatopoeia, usually used for dangerous situations. The show was set during season 5 and 6 of Totally Spies because there are references to Totally Spies being at university, which they started at the beginning of season 5 of Totally Spies. The oldest of the Clark siblings is Lee, at 13 years old. He is said to be very athletic, as he's on multiple sports teams. I have no idea how he manages that with all his spy work, but he does. One of the defining personality traits is that he is the oldest sibling and constantly feels the need to protect his younger sibling. The most glaring example of this is in Operation Rival School. At the start of the episode, we see Lee checking off a list to ensure all his siblings have everything they need for the day.
Science project is due this Friday. And Mark, Mom said you have a haircut appointment after school, so don't go getting lost in the library again.
This results in his siblings laughing at him, saying he's like another dad. Lee is upset by this comment and decides to act kid-like and carefree like his siblings by pulling pranks and slacking off on missions.
Relax, sis. Why are you always crushing everyone's fun? They're just having a good time.
But as the episode goes on, he eventually snaps and returns to his normal protective brother ways.
We can't have a party. Mom and Dad specifically told us to behave. That would be completely irresponsible.
He's also labelled the athletic one, as he's on multiple sports teams, as I mentioned before, and is even the captain of a few. The others are called unathletic, which I do not understand how you can be an unathletic spy and also backflipping into people's faces. Anyway, in the episode Operation Yo-Yo Ninja, we see what happens to Lee when he is no longer the popular athlete and has an identity crisis. At the start of the episode, we see Lee miss the winning shot because he got distracted by a pretty girl. This causes him to lose his reputation, his popularity, and therefore his identity. He then becomes unsure of all his moves and starts struggling to be a spy due to his loss of confidence. It also does not help that in the same episode, Tony saves some people and gets labelled Yo-Yo Boy and becomes everything Lee usually is times 10. After saving the day with the basketball, Lee gains back his confidence and then that snowballs through the rest of his life.
Gotcha! Don't call me hero, just call me Basketball Captain Master.
One thing I really enjoyed about Lee's character is he is believably dumb. His siblings are always commenting on his intelligence in the show based on his grades and how slow he is to realise the situation, but it's believable. And personally, the dumber of the siblings is Tony, but he gets away with it because he is the youngest. Mark is the second oldest, but also the twin of Megan. He is my favourite sibling. Mark is labelled as the family geek and also a tech whiz. He is also one of the smartest members of WOOP and got briefly promoted to Wooski before that shut down. On missions, he uses his skills to hack into things and tinker on WOOP tech to help solve their problems. It has been clearly established Mark's most important attribute is his intelligence. So what happens when the pressure of his intelligence gets to him? We see that happen in the episode Operation Rebel Robot. There is a school science fair and Tammy, the school mean girl, declares she is going to win it. Mark's siblings all think he is going to win it and Mark starts to get into his own head about it until there's only one day left and he's built a robot but he feels like something's missing. So he goes to WOOP, tricks Jerry, which is not that hard.
Oh, if you need help with filing or gadget inventory, I'm here. Well, thank you.
and steals a microchip that turns out to belong to a villain. So the robot goes evil and releases the villain from Root Prison, and they almost destroy the world. After almost plunging the world into chaos, Mark realizes he places too much importance in proving his intelligence when he does not need to. Another thing that Mark needed to overcome is his fear of heights. You might be thinking, does he not jump out of jets and dangle for buildings? Most days, yes he does. We learn in Operation Desert Rescue that after all of that, almost dying from heights does instill a fear in you. After almost being shot into lava, Mark developed a fear of heights so bad that he could not even jump into the school pool. In the episode, the kid's mother gets kidnapped by a chameleon man, and Mark is forced to get over his fear to save not only his mother, but also his siblings who have been captured. Yay, go him.
I have mastered my fears! I'm not afraid of anything!
Megan is the third oldest, twin to Mark, and the only girl in her siblings. She's also enemies with Tammy, the school mean girl. Tammy dislikes all the siblings, other than Lee, who she has a crush on. She hates Megan the most for some reason. One of Megan's most defining things on the spy team and in her family is that she is the only girl. They bring this up at least once an episode. And in the episode Operation Wheel and Operation Solo Spy, her being the only girl becomes key to the episode. In the episode Wheel of Thunder, she becomes obsessed with skateboarding so she can prove to her brothers she can do anything her brothers can.
Okay, you're saying that because I'm a girl, I can't skate?
No, we're saying that you shouldn't skate because you're a girl.
Also in the episode Solo Spy, the boys save the day and Jerry tells they are being considered for Spy of the Month, and that makes Meg feel left out, so she breaks into Whoop to get her own mission to prove she's just as good as her brothers. She does get caught and needs rescuing, but ultimately she saves the day and makes up with her brothers and wins Spy of the Month. Another key aspect of Megan's personality is her love for the environment, which is great and all, except for when it gets in the way of the mission, like in the episode of Operation Old School, where she goes to the extremes with her environmental mission. She keeps making environmentally friendly versions of everyday objects, and most of them do more harm than good, other than the last one, which does save their lives. Tony is the youngest of the Clark siblings at 11 years old. They really crammed every stereotype of younger brothers into this one boy. He's impulsive, insecure, impatient, and that affects almost every mission. In the episode Operation Fun and Games, Tony vocalizes his frustration about his height and strength because he's the smallest out of his siblings, so he becomes determined to prove he is more than just a little guy.
Sorry about that, little guy. Hope I didn't hurt you too bad.
Little guy, that's it!
He ends up being turned into this by accident and learns to appreciate his height a bit more. Alongside his insecurity about his height, he's also insecure about his age. In the episode Operation Grow Up, we see Tony not being able to go on the bumper cars or go into the movie because he's the youngest and the smallest. He ends up being hit with a ray that makes him age rapidly, but after not getting a part in the school choir because his voice is too deep and being too big to do his normal mission stuff, Tony learns to value his youth a bit more. I wanted to cover some other key recurring characters that appeared on the show. We have Tammy, who is the recurring rival of the Clarks. She's just a blonde, less intimidating version of Mandy. Technically the blonde, less intimidating version of Mandy is Mandy's cousin Mindy, so Tammy is just a knockoff of a knockoff. There's also nothing particular to say about her other than she does everything Mandy does, but worse. There's also Aunt Trudy, who is their mother's Karen's sister. She's nosy and snoops in the kids' things. She is so nosy that she discovers the kids' secret, follows them on a mission, and almost got killed by a bee woman. One of the biggest differences between Totally Spies and the Amazing Spies is these kids have parents. Yes, in Totally Spies, their parents appear once a season, twice if I'm being generous, but the Clark's parents, Cal and Karen, appear in almost all of the episodes. They call their kids, they have family dinner, they care about their kids' grades more than that one time that Alex's parents remembered she existed, looked at her grades, did not like them, then sent her to a boarding school. It's really nice to see parents parenting in a show. Another difference between Totally Spies and the Amazing Spies is siblings. None of the spies in Totally Spies have much family other than their parents. The most we see is Clover's cousin Norman. When I first found out all the main spies were related, I was confused because what is the likelihood that they would all become spies? Then I remembered the spy gene, which is established in Totally Spies as a unique gene that all spies have and is passed down through generations. Since they're all full-blood siblings, if one of them has it, they most likely all would have it from either of their parents. However, I was fully shocked to figure out these kids most likely got their spy gene from both their parents. I guess it's in the episode Operation Twin Trouble Part 1, 2 and 3. This was a three-parter where the twins Alpha and Omega escape imprisonment. We found out from this guy called Larry that they were made by another spy organization called Oopsie, and that the agents that initially imprisoned them were Cal and Karen, but they have since had their memories wiped, so they remember nothing about their spy lives. Eventually Cal and Karen get their memories back, only temporarily, and all six of the Clarks have to fight to save the world and stop the Chaos Twins, these two. The Amazing Spies has a lot of recurring villains, such as Chameleon Leon, Wilson, Davey Hacker, Sherry Lewis, Stoney Falcon, Kat, Mel, Gus Jr., the Granny, and others. As mentioned before, many times, this is a Totally Spies spin-off, and since Amazing Spies is run by the same organisation, they are bound to get sent on missions that the Totally Spies would also get sent on. They ran into some of the same villains, such as Boogie Gus in the episode with his son, which Jerry did not know he had, which proves to me this man does not do background check on people. Boogie was both a former Whoop employee and a Whoop prisoner. How do you not know his family, Jerry? There's also Granny and her crew, who are a bunch of old people up to their antics. They also mentioned the Totally Spies.
I did a lot of gym work in the slammer, and you're much younger than those other girly spies Whoop sent after us.
There's also Sebastian, who was actually the first villain of the Totally Spies show, not the movie. In the movie they had someone else. And Terrence, Jerry's brother, also makes an appearance. There was even a Totally Spies crossover episode, Operation Dude Ranch. This episode starts with the siblings bickering so badly that the villain gets away. So Jerry sends them on holiday to the Dude Ranch, which is a vacation spot for spies. There they meet the Totally Spies along with Dean, who made several appearances in that show. As they all spend time together one by one, the Totally Spies disappear, and Dean.
Don't worry, the new Whoop Power Lasso will save you. I thought you were supposed to be new and improved.
They eventually realise the ranch owner is an escaped Whoop villain and has taken the others, so the Amazing Spies have to rescue them. Turns out this was just a setup to get the siblings to work together by Jerry. This was the plot of a Totally Spies episode 2. The spies made other brief appearances, mainly in cameos or mentions, such as in episode Operation 50-Foot Hacker, Operation Killer Condos, Operation Sneak Attack, Operation Wheel of Thunder, and Operation Old School. The final episode of The Amazing Spies is Operation Shrubbery, which was a weird choice for the final episode for season 2. It was a bunch of plants trying to stop the demolition of a park, which was going to be replaced by high-rise office buildings. Kind of agree with the plants on this one. Anyway, considering they had a two-parter earlier on in the season where Terrence and Sherry take over Whoop, that just felt like more of a final episode than this. Now let's talk about Jerry's incompetence. As you all know, this is a Jerry hate page at its core, and as usual, he was stupid. Like in Operation Spy Clone, where Jerry clones a younger version of him to take over Whoop, but when he is doing the crucial growing of the clone, he randomly leaves the room and the clone gets infected because he did not seal the room properly. And he also did not hear the many alarms that went off. The clone goes crazy, the spies try to tell Jerry, but he does not believe them.
I have the utmost confidence in Jer 2.0. After all, I created him myself.
Until the clone tries to kill the kids in front of him. To add to, Jerry is the dumbest man to run a secret spy organization. In the episode Cruising for a Bruising, we find out his computer password is Spies. Also in season 1 of Totally Spies, Jerry fires the girls because he can only manage one group of spies at a time. He chooses his original spies in the show, but in The Amazing Spies, he is still managing Sam, Clover, and Alex. So either this man is a liar and he can manage two groups at once and just did not want to, or the other possibility is he does only have the capacity to manage one group of spies well, but he cares about these two teams less than his original spies, so he is willing to juggle these two but would not risk that with his OG spies. Either way, Jerry sucks. And another thing, it was revealed in Operation Paparazzi that Sherry, his older sister, DNA is so close to Jerry's that it can trick the Whoop system. Will this man not think to fix that issue when his identical twin brother went evil? How did that not occur to him? As per usual, there were multiple breakouts in the show. Davey Hacker, Sherry Lewis, and Kat all broke out twice. The Granny, with the Totally Spies and the Amazing Spies combined, is the Whoop prisoner who's escaped the most. And of course, is it even a secret spy organization run by Jerry Lewis? Show if some of the former employees do not turn out to be evil, like Mel. I will hand it to him. At least he is spotting the evil earlier with Davey Hacker, who was a spy trainee but was kicked out. Overall, Jerry still sucked in this show too. Jerry now has a daughter in the Totally Spies reboot, who has since taken over Whoop in the new season 7, so Jerry finally gets his wish of retiring. Hopefully the apple fell very far from the tree and she leads Whoop into greatness, but judging by his other relatives, she might also be evil, so who knows. Now here's my overall review of the show. The villains in the show were way less insane in my opinion, but quite a few of them I sympathise with their cause, like Chauncey and his plants just wanted to save the park, or the human projectile who was having his stunts stolen and put into a video game without permission or payment, or when the animals that were hurt by humans started fighting back. I cannot really say any of them were wrong for being hurt. All these people and animals and plants just went about it the wrong way with handling their issues, but their pain and anger were valid. And other things about villains I wanted to cover is their age. There were far more young villains in this show. The youngest villain in Totally Spies tended to be teenagers, but now there are multiple pre-teens kidnapping mystery and trying to rule the world. We love a prodigy. The youngest villain being Archibald Crankton, who was 8 years old. There is a complete lack of subtlety in their spy activities. They drop the kids off at home using a helicopter into a suburban neighborhood multiple times. How do none of their neighbors go up and ask, hey, why is there a helicopter at your house almost every day? Also, speaking of helicopter and flying machinery, they keep breaking jet. In the episode Operation 50-Foot Hacker, they go through a jet, a helicopter, and a minivan, all in one episode. In the episode Operation Sunrise Tan, the boys have one jet, then he sends Megan another one, and then Jerry sends Megan's hologram clone a jet too. Where is he getting the funding for Woot? I mean, he probably saves a fortune because he did not pay any of his teen spies. Also, the obligatory random alien episode that they had in Totally Spies 2 that they never mentioned again. I wanted to talk about the world the spies live in. The Clarks live in a pretty normal suburban house and go to a pretty regular school, which just add to their cover of being 4 normal preteens. But when compared to the memorable settings of Totally Spies, it falls short. And yes, I will keep bringing up the comparison because they brought up Totally Spies in every other episode, so I will too. You could show me any of the girls' bedrooms from Totally Spies, from either their regular houses or their penthouse in their university, and I would recognize it. Their mall was noteworthy, as well as their schools, both Beverly Hills and Malibu University. I do not even know where the Amazing Spies live. I think somewhere in Canada. Also, they wear the same clothes every day, which was this show was clearly aiming for a male demographic they think Totally Spies missed, which apparently is not a lot because I have seen a lot of men talk about online how they enjoyed watching the show. If they were trying to get a male demographic, I feel like Martin Mystery, the sister show of Totally Spies, was way better at it. If I wanted to watch a TV show about a group of spies that worked for Woot, I would just watch Totally Spies. This show offered nothing new to this TSU from what Totally Spies offered us over 8 years earlier. If they really desperately needed a Totally Spies spin-off with teens, why not just use the teens that were already in the show that the audience were already familiar with, such as Brittany, who was briefly on the Totally Spies team, Blaine, who dated Clover, and Dean, who appeared in Totally Spies multiple times. Those 3 would have been better since their personalities are so different to the Totally Spies. Amazing Spies, Mark is just Sam, Megan is Clover, and they split Alex and gave her sportiness to Lee. They took her ditzy behaviour and cranked it up to 10 and paired it with Clover's obnoxious attitude and gave that to Tony. The reason Totally Spies worked is because it was so unique. Kind of killed the uniqueness if you make the same show. I'm just confused as to why they made this show. They didn't need another spy show. They had Totally Spies, a spy show, Martin Mystery, a supernatural horror show, and they have Teen Galaxy, which is in space. Why do they need 2 spy shows? If they wanted another action show, they could have made one in the future or in the past, so at least make it somewhat different from Totally Spies. They could have made a superhero show that would have made way more sense, lead more into the magic aspects that Martin Mystery didn't cover. That was mainly horror. They had so many other options if they wanted to make another show, but for some reason they chose Totally Spies but worse. That will be all for today. I hope you all enjoyed that video. Goodbye.